Ready? Okay. All right. We're obviously doing Columbine. We didn't realize someone else was doing it at first, so that's why you're having two presentations on Columbine. If we would have known, then we probably would have done it differently. But I'm Brawley, and that's Connor.
All right. I'm gonna start off with a question. I know it's kind of cliche or whatever, but how many of you have had some form of bullying in your life? It was like felt someone, someone told you, like made fun of you, said something mean to you, Okay, well sometimes you don't really realize the consequences that, what you say. You might just say it just because you want to joke around with your friends, make fun of them, be a part of the group. Well, sometimes people take it really seriously and you might not even know it. And tomorrow, the guy sitting next to you, could go blow something up, you don't even know. So, today we're going to start talking about the Columbine shootings and about these two gentlemen who ended up, killing many of people and hurting many of people in the process.
All right. In this presentation, we'll be explaining what really happened on April 20th of 1999, and we're going to give you a little history behind the two that did this terrible thing. And at the end, we'll explain how this could have been prevented and what should have been done to make sure this didn't happen. All right. For those of you who don't know, what exactly did happen at Columbine? On that date, April 20th, 1999, 18-year-old Eric Harris and 17-year-old Dylan Klebold, they attacked their high school, pointing guns at point-blank range and detonating bombs in the process. They had hundreds of bombs. And they were throwing them everywhere like it was candy in a candy store, just throwing. And 15 deaths occurred. 12 students died. One teacher was shot in the mouth and died, and the two perpetrators took their own lives. And 21 others were shot or had burns or something from the bombs that occurred. The two kids were bullied throughout high school. There were plenty of students that said that they made fun of them. And according to USAtoday.com, they were made fun of mostly because they were dressing differently than everyone. They wore like long trench coats, very, I don't know what the word is, gothy, gothic sort of attire. And they had different hairstyles than everyone. I think Dylan had really long brown hair, and he liked to wear it in a ponytail sometimes, and Eric sometimes had a mohawk and things like that, just different things, and they were accused of being homos and gay for their different styles of hair. Now we're going to start to get into the attacks of what really happened. We'll sort of give you a little timeline of the events that occurred on that day. Just after 11:19, the two, Klebold and Harris, they approached the school through the parking lot, which is right here, and they started opening fire in the parking lot as they approached down here into the cafeteria, and they walk down here and they enter there. And in the parking lot, students heard gunshots. And students in the cafeteria also heard gunshots, and some of them even walk outside to see what happened and what was the ruckus, and then some hide under the tables because they could hear glass being pierced, and then the killers head into the school. At 11:21, the police department finally got word of the gunshot, and some of them even heard explosions. And then 2 minutes later, the first 911 call is actually made. And the reason that the police department was alerted before the 911 call is because there are police officers on campus. So they had actually told the department before the 911 call was made. I know it sounds a little confusing, but and within the 5 minutes of the first shots being fired, the sheriff's deputy assigned to work at the school, he's in the west parking lot, and Harris emerges from the school and exchanges gunfire with the sheriff, and neither were hit though. and Harris retreats then into the school. And as he makes his re-entrance into the school, he sees a teacher who actually I heard an interview on, and she thought that it was just a video that they were doing, like they do videos during school all the time. So she thought that they were fake guns. She goes to walk over to them and tell them to stop, but as she does that, she realizes that they're not fake guns, and she is shot in the shoulder, and he just smiles and does it happily, like it's nothing. And she drops to the floor and heads back to the library to warn the kids. And as they get further into the school, they're just throwing bombs. They're throwing little pipe bombs that they have everywhere, like it's nothing. And at 11:26, the business teacher and coach, Dave Sanders, is shot in the mouth. He stumbles into the room 3. He's bleeding very profusely. And at 11:42, a teacher in the room with Sanders alerts the sheriff's dispatchers that he's hurt very badly. And the gunman proceed then into the library. And by the way, this is all from cbsnews.com. And they enter the library then, where they all jocks stand up. And a little information on that: the jocks at the time usually wore white hats, so they could tell if they saw a white hat, that's when they usually shot. So a lot of the kids took the hats off and threw them, so they wouldn't realize that they were jocks. And they were all hiding underneath tables and anything they could hide behind to try to seek shelter from the gunfire. And 10 were actually killed in the library right then. And then at 11:37, they return to the cafeteria and shoot at bombs that they were trying to detonate, but none of them detonated, so that's where they kind of messed up on that they tried to blow up the cafeteria, but it was unsuccessful. And they wander around the school randomly until about 12:08, when they return to the school library and commit suicide by shooting themselves. And also some of this information was from ColumbineHigh.com.
Okay, during this whole thing that happened, you know, the big, this big massacre, there was red flags that were spotted that nobody really, you know, came on and, you know, alerted anybody about it. You know, it just, they kind of shoved it off, you know, was like, shrugged it off, didn't think anything of it. Well, here's some of the red flags. In February of 1998, Jefferson County Sheriff's deputies respond to a report of a pipe bomb in a field. They find and defuse a 6 to 8 inch long PVC pipe packed with firework powder. According to an affidavit, police later suspect that this bomb was set off by Eric Harris and Dylan Kriegel. There was not enough evidence to present to charge the two. Another red flag: in March of 1998, after having found a death threat against their son on Eric Harris's website, Randy and Judy Brown take pages from the site to the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. A sheriff's investigator tells them that Harris already has a criminal file from a van break-in earlier in the month. So he kind of just shrugs it off.
Yeah, and they did break into a van earlier in the month. They were caught and arrested and charged for it. They were stealing some things to make bombs out of I think it was a painting company's van, and that they needed some of the chemicals that the painters used to make the bombs. And they also stole some technology, things like computers and things like that, and they were found doing it and arrested for it.
Also, just a quick thing, I found out also by doing research that Dylan Klebold's close friend, that was a girl that he went to prom with, was actually the one that bought the guns for them, because they were not 18 at the time, so she actually went and bought all the guns for them. But another red flag: in April of 1998, after meeting with the Browns, sheriff's deputies warned Columbine administrators that Harris might be making bombs. According to Sally Blanchard, a school district office official, they were told that it didn't involve the school and they should take no action. The sheriff's department denies that its deputy told the school not to look into the matter. Also, in December of 1998, Columbine student Devin Adams also finds her name on Harris' website, on his hit list. According to Adams, she tells an assistant principal at Columbine about the threat. The assistant principal denies any such conversation. Both Klebold and Harris have already bought a rifle, a semi-automatic pistol, and 2 sawed-off shotguns.
And then after the massacre actually occurred, a report reveals that authorities had at least 15 contacts with the gunmen dating back 2 years before their murderous attack, and ranging from complaints from throwing snowballs at someone to then tips about making bombs and death threats on the actual website. Now, you guys are probably asking what could have been done. Well, we think that the sheriff's department definitely could have done more to warn the high school about these events. If you have such an extensive arrest record, I think the school needs to be notified of that arrest record. And if they're found to be making bombs and things like that, then the school definitely needs to know about that. And also the administration at the high school, they should have done more as well. If a deputy did come and say not to look into the matter, I don't think it should matter that much. So that conversation really doesn't matter in my opinion. If you're caught posing a death threat against one of your students, that should be the end of it right there, and they should be kicked out of school. So it shouldn't matter whether or not that deputy comes in and tells you to make no action. And the parents are also to blame, I believe, and they say they didn't know any of the things that were going on at the time. Obviously, they knew about some of the arrests, but they didn't realize the severity of them. And given the extensive arrest record, they could have done much more to be involved in their lives, such as taking them to get therapy help or something to help them get out of these bad acts that they've done.
Well, in conclusion, yes, this horrific tragedy could have been prevented. We told you today some history about Dylan Klebold and Eric Harris. We showed you a timeline of events for April 20th, 1999. We also told you what could have been done to prevent this disaster. Also, in this, in today's society, I feel and we feel that bullying is taken lightly, and it happens so much that sheriff's departments and stuff like that, when somebody alerts them or tells them about it, it's kind of like, oh well, Jimmy called Becky a bad word. You know what I'm saying? They don't take it as serious, and that's why they shrug it off and they're like, well, I have more important things to do. So I just feel that, and we feel that, they should take it seriously and really think about it, because this could have been prevented totally.
All right, very good.